Hello, and welcome back. Alright, so we're now on the third spell that I've created, and that's the call. Sorry, it's actually it's the fourth spell. Wow, moving right along, aren't we? Alright, so the fourth spell is the call Orbital Strike, and go ahead and take a look at that. So, I don't know if y'all have noticed yet, but let me just pull it up a little bit so you can see. Alright, so you know how I'm just kind of implementing a very familiar way of casting these spells. That way so I can play more with the mechanics, and also just logically in the game, this is really what makes sense. And so with the fireball, it's just a simple fireball, but with the small AoE, it's kind of like you send out a fireball that deals a big explosion. So I called it the call small AoE, because inside of that fireball you spawn an actor of the small AoE, you call it. And then the same thing with the call large AoE. It's what I name it. It's basically the fireball, in a sense, except you call this class again, and it does something extra, does something special. Well, I got kind of a little bit bored with that as I was going on, because I made the fireball, and that was simple once I understood it. And then I created the small AoE, and once I understood that, that was pretty simple, and I was like, well, let's have some more fun with it, though. And I made the large AoE, and did some different effects with it, and that was fun, but then I wanted to try something new, because I was like, well, you know, I'm starting to get the hang of this now, so let's do something a little bit more complicated. And so that's where we get the call Orbital Strike. So, once again, the call is pretty similar to the other calls. It's just the fireball with the damage and the emitter of explosion, but then you spawn the other actor, the one that actually does stuff. So let's look at the actual Orbital Strike itself now. So, anyways, as you can see here, we have event actor begin overlap and event begin play. This is the same thing we've done in the other ones, just to make sure. If it doesn't find anything, it does go ahead and delete itself. But if it does find stuff, then we're going to go ahead and do these things. Alright, so, of course we have the collision comp, which this time I actually made a square, because I felt it made more sense to kind of do it as a grid layout, as you can see there. But here's another important thing that you'll see in this viewport. You'll see this little arrow right here. Well, now you can't because I've clicked on it, but there we go. Alright, so now you can see this arrow. And that's really important, because that's really where the spells will come from on this one. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a sec. But basically, you know, we cast out the fireball, it's going to come, it's going to hit something right here, and it creates this whole box. And then up above it, which this box is actually really big, so that's, in the game, it's really probably about 30 feet above it. We spawn the spells from here, because it would take forever if we spawned them any higher, like they were actually outside. But we spawn them from about here, and they come down. And anything that was within this trigger, it'll chase them down, even if it goes outside the trigger box. So pretty cool. So let me go ahead and show you the event script for that. So, as you can see, we get the overlapping actors that are within this collision comp, which is our giant rectangle that we had, or rectangular prism that we had out there. And on the overlap, we're going to look at each one of those, and we're going to spawn a energetic sphere for each one of those. Now this energetic sphere, which had to go make a little special with this lock on target thing. So we could take the array element, and we could make each one of these spheres target each one of the elements within this array. And this is what's so cool, is because this spell will now chase it down, no matter where it goes. So essentially, let's go back to here. So let's say there's like 4 actors within this trigger whenever it gets called. So 4 spells will be called right here, and sent down from this arrow down, and it walks onto each one of the 4 in there as a target, and it'll chase it down until it hits it. And how you do that is you just take the array element, and that's what you pass it. You pass the the actor that is in the array, and it locks onto that actor's transform and the spawn transform. So this is kind of special and different from the other ones, because the other ones we just like straight apply damage, but this one we're actually calling another spell to come deal that damage, and we get the world location and we cast the spell from the arrow essentially, and the direction that it needs to go. Well, actually the direction doesn't matter because it will start chasing it down immediately anyways. So that means that instead of just having 2 levels of death, we actually have 3. So we actually need to look at our energetic sphere as well. So, clicked on the wrong one. There we go. Sorry. That's what happens when you have multiple files of the same thing, essentially. Alright, so now it's open. Anyways, so the cool thing about this is it's kind of built into the class itself. So really you don't see the tracking part of it here, but you can see it spawns its own particles it affects. It is a 3rd spell that we are calling, and this is what it looks like. So pretty, but deadly. Actually, this is an old particle effect. I've changed it now, and it looks more red and more fiery. But anyways, that's about really it for this video. So I will move on to the next one and show y'all my personal favorite. This one was Dustin's favorite, just because it looked so cool and he loved the functionality of it. But the next one's my favorite because of the logic that kind of goes behind it, and just I don't know, it makes me happy. I think it's the most dynamic and has the most interesting logic behind it. Definitely took a while to figure out. It took me about 2.5, 3 hours of messing with it just to figure out how to make the spell work the way I wanted to. But we'll get into that on the next video. So for now, that's it for this one, and I'll see y'all later.